Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara and welcome to a very special video. The other day I had the privilege of interviewing Dr. Michael Greger, and he is the founder of nutritionfacts.org. He's also the best-selling author of How Not to Die, How Not to Diet, and more recently, How to Survive a Pandemic. In this interview, I ask lots of questions about sexuality and if we can improve our sex lives with a whole foods, plant-based diet. Check it out. Oh, okay, we are recording now. So excited.
All right, great.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. This has been on my to-do list for some time actually to speak to you. So I had the impulse to do it a few months ago, and I'm so glad it's today. And usually I'm an influencer and I make content about sexuality. I describe myself as an orgasm activist, but I'm also vegan. I've been plant-based most of my life and I'm very passionate about it, but my audience is not vegan, so sometimes I put some vegan content out and they're like, oh, you have to be very careful, you know. So I really wanted to make a video or make some content about sexual benefits of a plant-based, whole foods plant-based diet, because I believe it's orgasmic, but is it really? So I really wanted to know, because obviously there are so many other health benefits, so it must affect sexuality somehow. So I've got a series of questions going from seduction to sex to just the whole process, really. So
do it.
Okay, so starting off, I wanted to know, starting off with the seduction phase, does diet influence our pheromones?
There haven't been any studies done on diet and pheromones, but there has been a lot of studies done on the effect of diet on skin coloration. Oh. And so this is regardless of whether you are Caucasian skin or Asian skin or African skin, the carotenoids in fruits and vegetables, particularly brightly colored fruits and vegetables, gets deposited in your skin from the inside out and gives people this kind of golden glow, which is associated with health. So just as a peacock can attract the peahen with their amazing coloration, so can eating some fruits and vegetables. And so you actually set people down in front of identical pictures that have been tweaked to the differences in colors you'd get from eating fruits and vegetables for a couple of weeks. They actually consistently choose as more sexually attractive, and this happens for both men and women, heterosexuals, homosexuals, any kind of skin tone. When you tweak it for that more carotenoids, that kind of there's this little golden glowish, that is associated with sexual attraction in the human beings, and you say, well, is it just getting people more tanned? No, it's actually different, and so it's more important to have carotenoids in your skin than actually have the extra melanin in your skin in terms of getting tan for people with lighter skin. And there's also, and the second part of that is this rosy glow that comes along with improved blood flow. And so no wonder why having a healthy diet centered around whole plant foods and reducing the things that can clog blood flow, such as trans fat, saturated fat, and dietary cholesterol, well, no wonder you'd get that extra blood flow, you get that flushing effect, which can signal sexual attractiveness. And so so eating healthy is a great way to kick off a good romance.
I call it the vegan glow, so it's true there's a vegan glow.
It is a vegan glow. It's a combination of those carotenoids and the improved blood flow.
Great. So the next phase, libido. So I recently came across a video on YouTube. It was some influencers. They were twins. I think one of them tried a vegan diet for 30 days, and he said that he lost his libido. I thought that was quite interesting. Because it should be the opposite, I was thinking. Obviously, it depends what you eat. But are there any studies about plant-based diets and libido, for example?
Yes. We have studies on both men and women improving their intake of whole plant foods and seeing not just improvements in sexual function, which presumably we'll get to in a little bit, but also improvements in libido for both men and women. It may be a testosterone effect, which also improves libido in women. I'm actually just working on today a video on the use of fenugreek to
Today as well. That's
what?
incredible. I was looking at fenugreek today as well for the iron content. I was amazed. I've never heard of it before, and I was thinking, how come I've never heard of this before? I've never heard of it.
It increases testosterone in men and women, and along with that, an increase in libido. So yeah, I don't know, just so a fenugreek spiced plant-based diet would be a good way to go.
I was looking at it on Amazon, thinking, should I get the seeds or the oil? Any
seeds? Always Whole Foods.
Okay, great. What about Maca powder? I've heard that's a kind of some of my male friends who would take that. They say they have lots of more morning glory episodes with Maca.
Well, let's look at PubMed. Last time I looked at it, it was very disappointing. I wanted to do a video about it because I got a lot of questions. But it was the data was really disappointing at the time. Let's see. There have been 4 randomized controlled trials to date on Maca and human sexual function or desire, and dun 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 dun. Two suggested positive effect, and the others flopped miserably.
Oh.
So I'd actually have to dig through those 4 studies and see why some showed more than the others. Interesting. So yeah, 2 out of 4. 2 out of 4 studies agree.
Okay. Well, so what about vegan aphrodisiacs then? I've seen a whole list of them on the PETA website. Are there any foods that you think would could be aphrodisiacs?
I know cocoa powder has been put to the test, and cocoa powder does indeed seem to be have aphrodisiac qualities. Trying to think of other foods that I've actually seen studies on. Most of it is just kind of folklore-y kind of stuff, where there really isn't any data either way. But I remember one of my cocoa videos. I was interested in busting the myth, but it actually wasn't a myth. It actually doesn't prove it. Although eating chocolate, not necessarily so, because the sugar and the saturated fat in the cocoa butter, may not be the best for arterial health long term.
So I have every evening. I have maca and cacao powder with cocoa and rice milk, and
sounds delicious.
Yeah, I wasn't taking it for libido, but I've heard it was good for hormones. But that's so like a hormonal hot chocolate,
Well, I have not yet looked into maca, so I don't know what the potential downsides are in terms of side effects, etc. Just because there didn't seem to be much benefits to offset any when I looked into it.
Okay, so now let's go to the men. What about the frequency and quality of the male erection? I did see the experiment on the Game Changers movie, which is very interesting, but obviously that was just one meal. So if someone's adopting a plant-based diet long-term, because if those were the results after one meal, imagine long-term.
Exactly. No, in fact, it was my suggestion to James to include that research in the Game Changers, and I'm excited that it came out as well as I thought it would, that's certainly what you see in terms of longer term trials where they put men on a plant-based diet. You see improvements in erectile function, and we see similar improvements in women's sexual function for the same reason. It's all about pelvic blood flow. You can get atherosclerotic clogs in your heart and cause a heart attack, in your brain and cause a stroke, and in your pelvis, and cut down not only on penile blood flow, but you get inadequate clitoral engorgement, which plays a role in arousal, as well as vaginal lubrication. It's actually the hydrostatic pressure in an aroused vagina that is where the lubrication comes from. These aren't glands. This is literally plasma from your blood leaking out because there's so much dilated blood flow there. It actually leaks out through the vaginal wall. And if you don't have inadequate blood flow, you don't get the kind of arousal and lubrication, and in men, the erectile function.
Yeah, I'm going to come on to the lubrication in a while, but as in my job, I'm always surprised that so many young women need lubricant. I know it can actually improve things somehow, but to actually need it all the time, I just think, wow. Because for me, I've made some videos on my channel about why I don't use lubricant. Because for me, I just think if my body doesn't want to, I'm not going to make it. You know,
right?
So
yeah, that makes sense.
Like a Viagra thing. I just think why go there? You know, if I'm not into it, I'm not into it. You know,
right.
So never really understood. Yeah, so maybe they're just not plant-based enough, perhaps.
Well, and part of that is when after menopause, you get natural atrophy of the vaginal wall, and there's less lubrication just naturally, and so that can and so in that role, a lubricant can be useful.
Okay, I was going to talk about the menopause in a little bit. More about the erection. So about erectile dysfunction now. So we talked about improving normal erections. Soon I'm going to be reviewing a device that provides acoustic waves to the penis to improve erectile dysfunction or to overcome erectile dysfunction. It's a very interesting, it sounds a bit scary.
Sounds quacky.
Yeah, it sounds scary. So but I guess it's a kind of method that's as an alternative to the blue pills. But I was wondering, are there any foods that can be like Viagra that can actually you can take and then it could actually help an erection that you would want to provoke? I've heard that I read somewhere that the white part of a watermelon, you know, the watermelon, there's the white skin, that was kind of like...
that's the citrulline. Yeah, citrulline, found predominantly in yellow watermelon. It has about 5 times more in yellow. And it's found, you don't have to eat the rind. You can get it right in the fruit itself. So citrulline, also you can get the arginine in nuts. And so there's actually been a randomized controlled trial looking at pistachio nuts, significantly improving erectile function in men with erectile dysfunction. However, it did, and so this was with older men who were having erectile problems. Pistachio significantly helped. However, in young men in their 20s who did not yet have erectile problems, adding pistachio nuts didn't do anything. It didn't affect their erectile function at all. But if you're having problems, pistachios may help.
Oh, that's interesting. I just bought some actually recently because one of my friends, I'm actually a part of the Barcelona vegan community group, and one of my friends there is a big fan of yours, and she told me that she read on your site that 3 pistachio nuts was the same as a melatonin, or something like that. It was... Oh,
two pistachio nuts.
Okay, that's even better. Going to last long. I'm not the best sleeper, so I bought them thinking of you.
Oh, yeah. Try to. And also I have a video on kiwi fruit and insomnia as well.
Oh, yeah. Is it the golden kiwi?
Golden kiwi.
Okay, yeah. I know that one.
Maybe greens work too. It's just the green kiwis haven't been tested yet. I mean, maybe they work better. We just don't know.
Okay, so getting back to the female lubrication. Is there anything that can help specifically with the female lubrication? Or is it just
lowering one's cholesterol. If you so hyperlipidemia, there's a study I did a video about called hyperlipidemia and sexual function in premenopausal women, and women with high cholesterol report significantly lower arousal, orgasm, lubrication, and satisfaction. And it's because the atherosclerosis of the blood vessels supplying the female pelvic anatomy can lead to decreased vaginal engorgement, clitoral erectile insufficiency syndrome. So it's the same, very similar. It's these vasculogenic female dysfunction. And what can we do about it? What we can do is we can improve our arterial function. How do we do that? We reduce the 3 food components that increase our cholesterol, which is trans fats found in these hydrogenated oils, mostly in junk food, but also meat and dairy. Saturated fat found predominantly in meat, dairy, and junk, but also found in a few tropical oils like coconut oil. And then dietary cholesterol found concentrated mostly in egg yolks. So we cut those, and then we can add foods that improve that pull cholesterol even. You eliminate all things that increase your cholesterol. There's things you can add that pull cholesterol down even further. That's like this is a so-called portfolio diet out of the University of Toronto, which is adding a portfolio of plant foods. Actually, so it's a vegan diet, but then you add on particular foods such as slimy foods, viscous soluble fiber foods like okra, eggplant, oatmeal, nuts, on down the list. And that can pull your cholesterol down even lower. And then in terms of increasing the function of the arteries, not just the structure by clearing out all that plaque, but improving the function of the arteries, we want to eat nitrate-containing vegetables, most concentrated, which is arugula, but all the greens, as well as beets and beet juice.
Oh, great. That's kind
so
of
runners use it to kind of improve the blood flow for athletic performance, but you can have that same effect in terms of sexual performance.
Okay, great. So next, about similar to pheromones, in relation to the smell and taste of a body. Imagine if you're in this situation where you're very intimate. Are there any foods that influence semen or vaginal odor or aroma or anything like that?
There's one study I'm aware of, and it was on body odor. And what they did is they had men wear, and so unfortunately the study was just done on men, where they had men wear axillary pads to collect body odor, basically like pads put in their armpits for all day, all night, and then they even had people wear an extra layer of clothes. They really wanted to kind of ripen up that smell. This was a small study, 17 men, 2 weeks eating meat like they'd regularly done, and then 2 weeks just not eating meat. The only change in their diet, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and then they took 30 young women and had them basically sniff the pads and not knowing which pad was from which guy, whether they were on meat or not, and found that the fresh odor samples were significantly more pleasant, significantly more attractive, significantly more masculine on the non-meat diet, on the vegetarian diet, after they had pulled meat from their diet. So no studies I'm aware of on the taste or smell of vaginal secretions or semen. Certainly there's a lot of anecdotal stuff around, but in terms of body odor, or at least axillary body odor, we know that at least for men and for heterosexual women, you can get an improvement in body odor by cutting meat out of your diet in as short as 2 weeks.
Oh, great. So I've always heard this anecdote about pineapple being good and asparagus being bad, apparently. That's a kind of...
you can imagine. I mean, if asparagus makes your pee smell bad, one can, I don't know. But, you know, what you have to do, put it to the test, right? I mean, what do you mean? You don't need a study to do it. You have someone eat some pineapple and you find out.
That sounds fun. So after that closeness, what about fertility? Are there any? Do plant-based diets help fertility for those who have sex for that purpose?
Absolutely, both male and female fertility. And so I have videos on all of them, on both male and female fertility. Let me see. God, boy, those were a long time. Let me see what these videos were. Wow. They were up for a while, but they've actually randomized people. Let me see what we have. Oh, yeah, this is really interesting. So the leading cause for female infertility was called anovulatory infertility, meaning that the eggs just don't ripen and release every month, and so you go the whole month where there's no possibility of fertility, no matter how well the sperm is doing, just because there's no egg to be fertilized. And you can look at what's called antral follicle count, which is basically an ultrasound where you can kind of count how many eggs women have And basically, once you're out of eggs, you're out of fertility. And you can assert, and then once you were able to have an objective measure, then you could look at these women, what their diets are, and see if you can make associations. And they found a significantly lower ovarian reserve at the highest dairy intake. So the most consistent finding is that women who drank more dairy had significantly lower antral ovarian counts. Actually, just to give you a sense of by how much, they kind of converted into biological age. And so basically, the numbers went down from 16 down to 12. 16 is what you'd see in somebody who was like 36 or 37-year-old, and something like 12 would be something like you wouldn't see until your 50s, like a fertile 50-year-old. So, I mean, we're talking about, like a 13-year difference in terms of fertility in women that avoided dairy, so had non-dairy sources, for example.
That's really interesting. So about going back to menopause, for myself as an orgasm activist, I definitely worry about menopause and how it's going to impact my life. And I think there's a lot of women who don't share their experiences about it. So it's quite taboo. So I just wonder if is it all game over after the menopause, or is there something that one could do, or do you have to take hormone replacement therapy? I mean, what can a woman do to?
Yeah, so I would not recommend hormone replacement therapy, as it can increase heart disease risk and breast cancer risk. What you can do is you can eat soy foods. So, for example, the reason why there's no such thing as, there's no word in the Japanese language for hot flashes is because Japan has the highest soy consumption in the world. On average, they're eating about 2 servings of soy a day. And, these menopausal hot flash symptoms just don't occur at the levels that they do here in the West. And you can actually prove that it's these isoflavone compounds in soy, because you can actually randomize people to just the soy compound versus a placebo pill, and you can actually follow it out, and you can see the significant improvements in menopausal symptoms. Now, I don't think people should be taking, soy compound pills. They should just be eating whole soy foods. The healthiest soy foods would be where it's actually the whole unprocessed soy. So like edamame, the immature green soybeans in a pod, or you can get cans of soybeans, or tempeh, you can see the individual soybeans in there. Those would be the healthiest sources and will help people through the transition.
And after as well?
I would keep it up. Yeah, you have to keep it up or it stops working.
Okay, and now the last question. So my audience is not vegan, but imagine, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's not plant-based and not going to become plant-based anytime soon? What type of foods could they incorporate in their diets to have some improvement in their sex lives?
Oh, I mean, you can have tremendous. It's not all or nothing. It's not black or white. Any movement we can make towards eating more whole plant foods, the better. And certainly doesn't matter whether you eat on birthdays, holidays, special occasions. We really need to get away from this black and white thinking. But the more you can center your diet around fruits and vegetables and legumes, which are beans, split peas, chickpeas, lentils, whole grains, nuts and seeds, mushrooms, herbs, and spices, basically real food that grows out of the ground. These are our healthiest choices for not only chronic disease risk, but improving blood flow. The reason it so decreases mortality is because the #1 killer of both men and women is heart disease. So a heart-healthy diet is a sex-positive diet, and it's just a matter of, on a day-to-day basis, trying to include as many of these healthy foods as possible. And the good news is we have tremendous power over our health, destiny, and longevity. The vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a plant-based diet and other healthy lifestyle behaviors, not only adding years to our life, but life to our years, like good sex.
Great. One more question is organic orgasmic, or does it matter?
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Pesticides don't have anything to do with sexual function, as far as I know.
Okay, because I'm kind of going more organic as possible now with the lockdown.
Well, I mean, the most important thing is the quantity of fruits and vegetables you stuff in your face. And if, because they're cheaper, you would actually buy more conventional, then that's really what matters most, is the quantity. So if it doesn't matter and you're going to eat the same amount of fruits and vegetables, then certainly choose organic. But if not, the important thing, more fruits and vegetables as possible regardless.
Oh, definitely, definitely. That was great. So I'm going to leave a link to your Instagram and your nutritionfacts.org so people can find out more about the benefits, the sexual benefits, and lots of benefits, health benefits of a whole foods plant-based diet. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to speak to me this evening. I'm so grateful, and I'll have the video up in a couple of days.
I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. Right. Sex is not great when you're dead. And so that's the nice thing, is that you have all the benefits put together. I encourage people, just give it a try. You don't know how good you're going to feel until you give it a try.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Thanks. Nice to meet you.